G'day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan Battle video. In this video we are going to take a look at the brand new Infinite Dragon Ball history stage that has been added to DBZ Dokkan Battle Global. So this brand new Infinite Dragon Ball history stage is pretty straightforward. It is the stage 16 and is against the Super Warriors tag team. So it's against a whole bunch of joined forces units. It starts with a AGL type stage, moving into a physical, moving into an AGL, then into some strength, and finally rounding out with some physical and int stages. There are some challenges for this stage, so if you're wondering why the missions are already done, unfortunately I actually finished the stage and then my video got corrupted. So I have to refilm it, but it's not a big issue. The special conditions are to use 3 joined forces categories and 3 bond of friendship category units. You can achieve this with multiple teams actually on one team. And the team I'm going to be using for the second run through is actually an adjusted team from a friend of mine, Kyle. I borrowed his team and adjusted it to make it more free to play friendly. And yeah, it's actually a very good team. So this was my original team. I took the joined forces Goku Blue units as the friend lead. And you can see this team's a little bit wonky. It was okay, it got the job done, but it was really quite wonky and actually is probably more difficult to make for players. Now we're running a Majin Buu Saga team with the entire team being free to play, barring the leads, the Majin Buu Saga leads. You could probably run one of the you could run the Buu and Babidi as your Majin Buu Saga lead, and this team would still probably get the job done. You would just need to fill in for obviously the Goku unit that is not on the team anymore, and you would need another joined forces unit from the Majin Buu Saga category, because you would only have the Great Saiyaman and you would only have the Majin Buu and Babidi unit. The Buu and Hercule unit does not count, I believe. They are not on joined forces, or are they? We'll just double check quickly, but I think they are not on joined forces. If they are, then you can run this entire team free to play and you should be fine. So we'll just double check that. But overall the team is pretty rock solid. It's very good defensively. Yeah, it's not on joined forces, which is a bit weird. I guess because it's a tech a la Hercule. So it's not actually a tech a la Hercule and Buu. The AGL Hercule is also surprisingly not on joined forces, but again it's an exchange unit, so I mean, I guess that is what it is. But yeah, the team overall is pretty good. It's quite rock solid defensively. That's its main priority. So it's a really solid team overall in terms of its defensive prowess. The AGL Buu and Hercule will transform eventually to become AGL Buu, who is a very powerful unit, very strong unit, especially when there's Gokus and Hercules on the team. They're going to be one rotation, so you're going to have Hercule and Buu along with Tech Hercule. They're going to be one rotation. We're then going to just leave the Great Saiyaman LR after their recent EZA on the second rotation with the Goku and Vegeta friend unit, who's obviously 100%, and then that's pretty much going to be it in terms of the entire team and the build and everything. The other Goku and Vegeta unit, my one, will be floating as just a generic floater, and the Buu and Babidi unit will also be floating. And that's pretty much it in terms of like rotations and things that are going to be going on. The int SS3 Goku will be on rotation as well, but also floating. So that's the team in terms of setup. Everything else is pretty straightforward. It's kind of a straightforward system. You basically rely on the Vegeta and Goku for a large amount of damage, and then you're going to rely on the Buu and the Hercule for some very solid defense in the second rotation. Overall, this team doesn't really have that much of a risk of dying. The team is very, very powerful. Obviously, the Great Saiyaman 1 and 2, after their recent EZA, actually do some decent damage. They also have some very good defense as well. And they obviously provide that 50% defensive support for the rest of the rotation. So that is obviously something that's really, really good. The Int SS3 Goku is going to be more than fine as a floater, because the support from the AGL Buu / AGL Herculean Buu will keep him topped up with ki. And of course, you know, the rotation with the Great Saiyaman also has ki and additional defense. Goku has 120% attack and defense. He also raises attack and defense by up to an additional 60%. He ends up with something like 120k defense on both rotations, which is very, very good. If we do end up having issues, he can transform, obviously. So he can transform into Goku, which is, you know, able to happen. But when he does transform, he will lose a little bit of that defense, which isn't great, of course. But he should be able to activate his unit super attack, which will increase allies' attack and defense for one turn as well. Overall, you know, Goku's pretty solid as a unit, so he's not so bad. He'll have critting as well. He becomes a lot more offensively orientated with the Spirit Bomb, but you need him to transform. It only happens when your HP is 80% or less and Goku is on the rotation, and I actually don't think it occurs throughout this entire fight for us. Yeah, he doesn't transform, so it's actually a shame, because if he did transform, we actually would have greater offensive capability, and we might actually have been able to beat the 18 turn requirement. We just miss it out, which is a little bit unfortunate, but we get some crucial unfortunate incidences occurring later on. But yeah, so that's pretty much it from the team and why it works the way it does and everything like that. In terms of the bosses for this whole Infinite Dragon Ball history, obviously the Infinite Dragon Ball histories are kind of in that mid-range kind of area. They're more to represent kind of, you know, things that occurred in Dragon Ball Z. They're not necessarily the craziest events. Like, they don't hit as hard as Extreme Super Battle Road, or they don't hit as hard as you know, the Gods of Destruction event or anything like that. So yeah, they generally are like in between, I want to say. So they generally are in between in terms of their difficulty. So it's not really too heavy a situation, but it is challenging to do the category requirements in one go for the most part. It is challenging sometimes to do them in just a single run, depends on the categories that they've chosen. And yeah, they do start to hit quite hard near the end. I mean, you're going to need units that are, you know, I mean, this team, as much as it's a free-to-play team, I mean, the EZA Great Saiyaman 1 and 2 are not an easy unit to get. You have to do a lot of grind, a lot of summoning, a lot of EZA areas. Similarly, you know, you have to Rainbow Orb the Hercule and the Goku, which is something a lot of new players are not going to be able to do. And it is running under a, you know, DFE Legendary Summon lead. So overall, although the team may look like it is free to play, it is still a lot of work. Prime Battle, Buu and Babdi are not necessarily an easy unit to get. So we're on the Int Great Saiyaman stage. So in terms of tactics, the first stage there was nothing. In terms of Yamcha and Puar, they were just immune to sealing. In terms of Tien and Chaozu, they were immune to stunning and sealing. And then when you get to the Great Saiyaman, they are immune to super attack, sealing, stunning, and attack lowering. They will also randomly seal your units from time to time, so that is something that's slightly irritating. So obviously that's a little bit of a problem. Then the next phase will be Goten and Trunks. They're immune to stunning and sealing and attack lowering and defense lowering. And then that will remain consistent throughout stages 6, 7, and 8. With stage 6 and 7, you will have evasion. Kale and Caulifla and Goku and Vegeta both have evasion, which is somewhat irritating. And then in terms of Goku and Vegeta, they actually also lock your units and prevent them from evading. And yeah, the last phase is obviously the Goku, Pan, and Trunks units from the GT. But they pretty much are a lot weaker than the other two stages, but they do lower attack. So that's obviously something that is quite important. But yeah, overall, the stage is good. It's a lot of good fun, I would say. I wouldn't say it's necessarily, like, I don't think Infinite Dragon Ball History is ever designed to be incredibly difficult. I just don't think it's like made to be that way. I think it is designed to be challenging for new players and to be good. It is enjoyable content. I do enjoy it quite a bit. It is quite fun. It's like a lot of good fun to do. It's entertaining. It's solid. It's enjoyable. Yeah. So for me, no real issues in terms of, you know, the whole stage and everything. So yeah, quite a lot of fun. But yeah, now that we've done kind of the run through of everything regarding the event, one of the main things that you just need to know about this team is essentially that your damage is pretty much entirely reliant on the LR, or at least the friend LR, Goku and Vegeta. So you actually should transform them a little bit earlier than I am here. Essentially, you need to kind of take damage because this team is so strong defensively. You need to kind of make it take damage almost so that you can actually transform the Goku and the Vegeta. And I would say whenever you are able to transform them around near the end of this Goten and Trunks event is going to be the time you should transform them. The counters are a great way to counteract the evasion of the Kale and Caulifla and of the Goku and the Vegeta unit. Because they evade, maybe it was just this run, but their evasion actually prevented quite a substantial amount of damage coming out. Because they attack so many times, using your evasion or counteracting their evasion by just basically attacking them every time they attack is going to be a great source of damage. And it's going to be really helpful with stages 6 and 7. So from my perspective, I definitely would have transformed them way earlier. I would have transformed them so they are probably both Vegito by the time we go into Kale, or at least the 100% friend one is Vegito by the time we go into Caulifla and Kale, because I just do not manage to dish out like any real substantial damage in these two phases, and it's because I don't transform, and it is a real problem. So yeah, basically that is the one thing to be aware of. But beyond that, everything's pretty straightforward. It's not too difficult in terms of their actual hitting. Like, these units are all more than good enough defensively. Even the Int Goku in the stage against the physical Kaioken Goku and the blue Vegeta is a very, very solid unit defensively. You will have to start using items, especially if you transform the Vegeta. It's best to just use some items to secure his defense and enable him to really counter to a high degree. But beyond that, you should be more than fine. So yeah, I definitely would transform them. That's my only change. As you can see here, they evade quite a lot of our attacks, just really slowing us down. We don't have to worry about the AGL Boo, because the AGL Boo fortunately has guarding against all types when he is alongside a Hercule unit, so he works great alongside that Tech Hercule. Even though they don't link up so great, they do share one key link, and they actually are incredibly solid. So yeah, overall, very, very just impressive team build defensively. The utility kind of drops off, obviously, just because, you know, we don't really end up, like, you can't utilize utility past a certain point. Past like stage 3, you can't actually, you know, utilize anything or do anything like that. So that is something that you just need to be aware of. But yeah, this portion here took the longest. So this here was really what slowed me up. The Kale and Caulifla, they really slowed me up quite a lot, and it was just because it was so unavoidable in terms of the amount of damage that I was doing. Like, I'm not getting any crits, I'm not getting really high, like Hercule's getting some decent attack numbers, but he's not getting any crits. This Boo and Babidi actually do get some crits, and that really helps me out. You can see they tank more than fine as well, which is obviously very good from their perspective, because a lot of their passive actually kicks in when the enemy is debuffed. So they still tank more than fine. Now that we managed to transform the Vegeta and the Goku unit, our damage spikes tremendously, and we're almost able to pretty much finish them with just the counter attacks alone. So that damage boost would have been helpful early on. I think we spent 4 turns on Kale and Caulifla, or even 5 turns, I think, on Kale and Caulifla, which is a lot. It was the most we spent on a single phase by far, and it's what cost us the overall 18 turn victory. But for the most part, not really like a massive deal. I'm not gonna say it was like a huge loss or anything. Like, the team itself was very reliable, and that's generally what I go for. A team that it's not ultra defensive and takes forever, but just a team that you can kind of just leave on autopilot, has free to play options, doesn't require a lot of unit maintenance or anything like that, just leaving set rotations and set floaters, and you'll basically get there. So yeah, now that we've obviously moved on to the Goku and the Vegeta unit, that's the second to last stage, so they can also evade, which is a bit unfortunate. The Strength Vegeta should do quite a substantial amount of damage here to them, just from his type advantage, but we're hoping that he can get his crits. If you can, I would suggest transforming the second Vegeta if possible, but we do again just run into that difficult problem of our team being a bit too tanky, so we don't really have the ability to take damage like in a controlled sense. Like, because our team is so tanky, we can pretty much only take damage on like one unit here, which is the Int Goku, but if he gets supered, we would be very, very low on health. So, I mean, it is what it is. Like, the Int Goku could have transformed as well, which again would have helped us, because Int Goku transforming, as you guys know, is kind of a good thing, because he would have gained his critting ability and everything like that. So yeah, really would have helped us out overall, but we are getting a lot more damage done here. So you can see with with Vegeta, we are getting a lot more damage done overall, which is very, very good. He does evade our super attack, which, is a bit annoying, because obviously that's a large portion of damage, and again, it's something that's very unlucky that probably would have accelerated the entire run by another turn or so. So yeah, it's small things like that that have just prevented this run from clearing the time limit challenge, but overall it was a very, very solid run. If you can, you could obviously apply equipment to these units, or better equipment than what I have. I don't think I've equipped them perfectly. A lot of them are just sitting with kind of whatever equipment, so you definitely could, just run better equipment on the units, even just running a little bit more crit than I have. changing one of my units from like having 2-4 crit equipments to 2-5 crit equipments, for example, would be a big enough difference probably to help me out in the long run, just considering everything. So yeah, overall the run was solid, and everything went to plan. The phase against Tech Kale and Khalifa took too long. The rest of it honestly was more than fine. So I'm quite happy overall with how the entire situation went. If I could change anything, the unit I would change would probably be the Int Goku first, since he just didn't do much. Obviously, if he, drops down to a Spirit Bomb form, he could have done a lot more damage. But yeah, he just didn't feel like he did that much. And then I would probably drop the Hercule and Boo combo. Maybe choose something else, something that's a little bit better, a little bit more reliable, I would say. So yeah, definitely those changes I would make, but beyond that, everything else is more than fine. So yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of team options for this. Obviously, if you're trying to go for joined forces and you're trying to go for the bond of friendship, you're going to need to just be aware of those two categories. If you're just trying to go for the clear, you can just run pretty much whatever standard team you have run for Infinite Dragon Ball Histories. There's no special gimmick or unit here that makes me feel like anything other than the normal situation is what's necessary. So yeah, I mean, you can see here Goku taking 30k without an item. Really not that bad. So yeah, the team itself, great. The damage, not so much. We'll finish up the Goku and Vegeta unit. They also took quite a while. And then we'll push on to the Goku, Pan, and Trunks GT unit, the GT trio, and they will be a lot faster. They are quite substantially weaker than the last two stages. So, and they usually do that. They usually make the last stage kind of like a, like a send-off kind of stage. So yeah, it's usually not as hard. The only thing you need to worry about a little bit is Hercule. That Tech Hercule can, he could take quite a bit of damage if needed. So yeah, just be a little bit careful with him. Make sure you get his 18 keys so that he can keep stacking his defense and get that up to a high point. But he should be fine. He has enough, mechanisms, and he can have his evasion back as well, which will help him quite a bit. So yeah, overall, honestly, this one goes quite quickly, at least a lot faster than the two previous stages. You'll see the two Vegetos here do quite a hectic amount of damage in their first turn out. So yeah, overall, this was fine. I think we could definitely do better. I think the team could move faster. Equipment would make it better. Link leveling wouldn't really help too much. It's not like Hercule and Boo share a massive amount of links. It's not like SS3 Goku was sharing a massive amount of links with anyone. It's not like Strength Vegeta and the Great Saiyaman units were sharing a massive amount of links. So overall, I don't think link leveling is like an absolute necessity. But that being said, anything would technically help. Even just things like Fierce Battle or Supreme Power, Legendary Power, anything like that I guess would help. But for the most part, I would just say work on your gear. Maybe just make sure you have the best gear on these guys that you can. And if you get a little bit luckier with crits and evasions and things like that, then I don't foresee you having that much of an issue with this stage. So yeah, as you can see, the final stage we've almost defeated in one turn. So just a way better experience than the last two stages. Obviously we have the double Vegeta. We ideally would have wanted that way sooner. Just the offensive output of Vegito is pretty nuts, especially in situations where he's just going to be taking so many attacks. So yeah, that's definitely something we could have wanted earlier, and we wanted earlier. I would say we definitely wanted it earlier, but that's about it. So yeah, other than that, let me know in the comments how you guys have found the stage. I'm interested to see what kind of teams you guys ran. How did you complete the challenges? How did you not complete the challenges? Yeah, and just basically what kind of teams did you guys use, and who did you enjoy using? Did you enjoy this? Do you still enjoy Infinite Dragon Ball Histories? Do you think they're enjoyable content? Are the rewards worth it? Should they change up the rewards? I think the rewards are great. I think the content's a lot of fun, as I mentioned earlier. So for me, whenever they bring one of these out, I always do look forward to it. I do enjoy it quite a bit. It does feel like a bit of flavor from the Dragon Ball Z kind of period. And yeah, I just think it's really cool. Another alternative way to enjoy Dokkan. So yeah, that's it from me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, leave a like, leave a comment, or just share it with your friends. Do whatever you want to do, or just don't. But yeah, that's gonna be it from me, guys. So I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, stay safe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Until then, take care and bye.